Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending upon when you are watching this video. Today, let us discuss some of the provisions related to clubbing of income. The actual name of this chapter can be called as the income of other persons included in the SSC's total income. What does this mean? It means the income is earned by other person. Though it is earned by other person, it is still included in the total income of the SSC. Is it normal? Absolutely not. Because in general, if there is any income that is earned by any person, that should be taxable in the hands of that person. When we are talking about the income of other person to be included in the total income of the SSC, it is not a normal thing. It is a specific situation, in fact, situations where such clubbing provisions will apply. So, first point, these provisions will be applicable only if the conditions prescribed in the following sections of the Income Tax Act are prevailing. Otherwise, these provisions are not normally applicable for everybody. So what should be our objective in this particular chapter? So after studying this chapter, what are our learning outcomes? Let us particularly look at some of the key words, and of course these words are going to be elaborated as we go through the provisions in this particular chapter. So what are the key words here? And what are the things that we are supposed to learn in this chapter are as follows. First thing first, we need to understand when the clubbing provisions are attracted. So the main point here is clubbing provisions. What is clubbing? Same thing. Income of other persons included in the total income of the SSC. We don't use the same word every time. So simply we call it clubbing provisions. When are those clubbing provisions attracted? And if they are attracted, how to apply them in computing the total income of the SSC is one of the objectives of this chapter. And other thing here, another important aspect is to identify and examine the circumstances when the income of the spouse is clubbed with the income of the individual. So naturally the word spouse will arise. The situation of somebody having a spouse will arise only when that person is an individual. A company, firm, local authority cannot have spouses naturally. Means when an individual has a spouse and that spouse is earning the income, under normal circumstances, whoever earns the income, they should be subjected to tax. However, under special circumstances, as we are going to discuss, the income of the spouse is clubbed with the income of the SSC, the individual. And of course, after clubbing, we will apply that in computing the total income of such individual. So, when are the general clubbing provisions applicable? In all cases. Second, when are the clubbing provisions in relation to the income of spouse applicable? That is the another one. And not only that, the third learning outcome of this chapter is to examine the circumstances when the income of son's wife is included in the hands of the individual. Simply speaking, when the clubbing provisions related to son's wife's income are applicable. So all of them, though they are big sentences, we can understand in a simple way. Generally, when the clubbing provisions are applicable, how the clubbing provisions are applicable in respect of the income of spouse, how the clubbing provisions are applicable in respect of the income of son's wife. Same way, how the clubbing provisions are applicable in the case of income of a minor. That is another aspect. So general provisions, provisions related to spouse, provisions related to son's wife, provisions related to minor. And naturally, spouse, son's wife, minor, all these things are normally applicable for an SSC who is an individual. And the minor here will be naturally the son or daughter of the SSC. And how this minor's income is included in the hands of the parent, and which parent the income has to be clubbed. The provisions we are going to discuss will tell us all these aspects. In addition to this, we also have other provisions related to circumstances when the income of HUF is clubbed in the hands of a member of HUF. So the income of HUF is clubbed with the income of member of the HUF. That's all. These are all the clubbing provisions that we need to know. 1. The clubbing provisions in general. 2. Clubbing provisions in relation to spouse. 3. Clubbing provisions in relation to son's wife's income. 4. Clubbing provisions in relation to minor's income, and which parent has to have the clubbing provisions applied in respect of the income of minor. These 2 points are one and the same. They are not two different things. These two can be considered as 1 point. Then how the income of HUF is considered as if it is the income of any member of the HUF. All these aspects we will discuss in this chapter. That is the outcome of this chapter. We can say the contents of this chapter. Our agenda in relation to learning the clubbing provisions will be like this. The nutshell of this entire chapter has been given here. You can have a look at that in the ICA material, whether in the physical copy that you have with you, if it is available. If not, you can download this particular chapter from ICA's website also. But this is the summary of the entire chapter. This one page actually is enough in understanding the entire chapter. However, just by going through these things dryly, it is difficult to interpret them and apply them. So naturally, as we know, the process of learning any law, particularly the income tax or taxation, we need to know the provision first. We need to understand the provision. We need to interpret that well. Then we need to apply them in some examples and circumstances. Then only the learning process will be complete. So if we just go through these things, it will not be easier. It will be complicated. So what we will do now? We will postpone this particular page to the end. In simple words, let us consider this as the revision of this chapter, not as the learning process of this chapter. So we will come to this at the end of this chapter as a revision. Till then, we will have to continue with the regular provisions which are all there in this particular chapter. Now let us understand first of all the rationale behind clubbing. Rationale means logic. Why income of somebody else has to be clubbed with the income of the SSC? What is the reason for that? Under what circumstances such need arises? Let us understand that first. Normally, when we talk about the general provisions related to the Income Tax Act, in general, any SSC normally will be taxed in respect of his own income. Normally, that is quite natural. Anybody will be taxed in respect of income earned by that person. However, there are certain cases where an SSC has to pay tax in respect of income of other person. Don't think that other person is a neighbor or some unknown person. Definitely, as we already looked at the situations where the clubbing provisions are applicable, the other person will be either a very closely related person, or the other person could be somebody else also under certain special circumstances. Whatever the case may be, there are certain situations where the SSC is liable to pay tax on the income not only earned by the SSC but also the income earned by somebody else. That is the point here. And the provisions related to this clubbing activity are contained in section 60 to 64 of the Income Tax Act. 60 to 64. So 60, 61, 62, 63, 64. That's all. These are the only provisions in relation to clubbing. And these provisions are enacted. Why? Now the intent of the statute is being told. Why these are enacted? To counteract, means to have an opposite, to stop or to control, we can say, to counteract the tendency on the part of the taxpayers. Normally, if the law does not take enough preventive steps, it is the tendency of the taxpayers to somehow reduce their tax liability. In this case, how they are trying to reduce their tax liability? By disposing of their property or transfer their income in such a way that their tax liability can be avoided or reduced. So, once again, this is not the law explaining it itself. This is the understanding of the law, or as we call it, intent of the statute. What is the intent of the statute here? It is to counteract the tendency on the part of the taxpayers to dispose of their property or income in such a way that they reduce their tax liability, or completely they may avoid that tax liability. And how can they do that? Is it possible to do that? Answer is yes. It is quite possible in some certain circumstances. Then the second question comes, should the lawmakers or the law allow such possibility? Answer is no. They should not allow. Then what is the weapon in the hands of the lawmakers? That is section 60 to 64. They will counteract the tendency of the taxpayers to reduce or avoid the tax liability. If they do it properly, that's a different story. But if they do it mischievously, then the law will also have a counter action to stop such mischief. And these provisions, all the clubbing provisions, are intended to prevent such kind of tendencies from taxpayers or SSCs. Another point to note here, in general, when we talk about somebody trying to transfer the property or their income or dispose of the property or their income in such a way that they want to reduce the tax liability or avoid the tax liability, how can they do that? How is it possible? And for which type of SSCs that is possible? In general, that is possible for the individuals particularly. Why is that? Of course, HUF also in some cases, but in general, individuals will have this tendency, and individuals will have this tendency because they have that facility. As we are all aware, there is a basic exemption limit for individuals above which only their income is taxable. Imagine if somebody is earning an income above basic exemption limit and he is under normal circumstances liable to pay tax. If he claims that entire amount is not earned by him, rather half of that is earned by somebody else, let us say for example spouse, though in reality it has been earned by the SSC only. In that case, what is he trying to do? he is trying to transfer a portion of his income. Really, the income is not earned by the spouse. If it is really earned by the spouse, we don't have any problem. The law doesn't have any problem. However, in reality, the income is earned by the SSE, but the SSE is showing as if some portion of that income is earned by spouse. So what the law should do? Should it allow it? Definitely not. That is the reason, under certain circumstances where the SSEs have this tendency of transferring or disposing of their properties or incomes in the name of somebody else with an intention of avoiding the tax liability or reducing the tax liability, the clubbing provisions of section 60 to 64 will be applicable. We will enter into the details of them in this chapter. Let us look at this example also. This will tell us very clearly why clubbing provisions will be required. First of all, where this is applicable mostly in the case of individuals. In the case of individuals, income tax is levied on slab system. Naturally, we know that. And the tax system is progressive, and because as the income increases, the applicable rate of tax also increases. So what some taxpayers who are in the higher income bracket can do, they may have a tendency to divert some portion of their income to their spouse or minor child, etc. These are examples. And why do they do that? Basically to minimize their tax burden. Imagine if a person is actually earning, let us say, 9 lakhs rupees income. Instead of paying tax on such income, if he says that I have earned only 3 lakhs, my wife has earned another 3 lakhs, my minor son has earned another 3 lakhs, like that if he claims, is that a real claim? Is that reality? Should we just blindly accept whatever he claims? Answer is no. Then what the law says? Baba, even if you say you have earned only 3 lakhs, your wife has earned 3 lakhs, your minor son has earned 3 lakhs, actually all those incomes are clubbed in your hands only. So you will have to pay tax on the income of 9 lakhs. You cannot get away with diverting the income in the name of somebody in order to reduce the tax burden or tax liability. What he tried to do? 3 lakhs income in 3 different SSC's hands will not attract any tax liability. Finally, they end up paying zero tax. But in reality, who earned that income? SSC himself has earned that income. So, particularly for individuals where there is a slab rate of system, and that too where the tax rates are progressively increasing, then the tendency somehow to divert some of the income in the name of known persons, particularly in the name of spouse or minor child, are common. Of course, the law is not allowing such tendencies. The purpose of these clubbing provisions itself is to reduce such instances and in fact to prevent such thought also, because even if you really say that 3 lakhs has been earned by all the 3 of us, still it doesn't make any difference. Why? Because the law assumes ultimately all the 3 lakhs is earned by one person. So the taxable income in that case will be 9 lakhs but not 3 lakhs. Why? Since clubbing provisions are applicable. That is the purpose of clubbing provisions, and that's what they do when anybody tries to divert the income in the name of somebody else for the purpose of reducing their tax liability. That's it. That is about the rationale behind the clubbing provisions, reason behind the clubbing provisions, logic behind the clubbing provisions, why they are required. If they are not there, naturally there is a possibility that people will resort to such unscrupulous practices. And since there are clubbing provisions ranging from section 60 to 64, even if somebody tries to do that, it will not be of any help to them, since all the incomes earned by spouse and minor child also are clubbed in the hands of the SSE. Before entering into this specific provisions, let me give some, you can say, disclaimers. See, the word spouse, we are going to use many number of times in this chapter. And as all of us are mostly aware, spouse is a word which does not have any specific gender. So, wife or husband, both can be called as spouse. That is a very important point to note. We don't have to assume that always the SSC is male and spouse means female. Not necessarily. Having said that, while explaining, while we just use the word spouse, when we use the word SSC, it is a common tendency that we say or generally say he. So don't take he as really he, that he should be or could be she also. It doesn't matter. So when we say SSC has earned income, his wife is earning or his wife is showing some income which has to be clubbed in the hands of the income of the SSC. So in this case, the SSC is a male because we are talking about the wife of the SSC. Naturally, that wife is female. So the gender is very clear. So when the gender is very clear, we have to be very specific about it. When the gender is not clear, we don't have to be clear also because all these provisions are applicable for any gender. So spouse is not indicating any gender. Please note this point. Having said that, don't mistake me if when we take examples, or even when we solve the problems, if the SSC is male and the spouse in the form of female turns out to be the wife of the SSC. That is only for example purposes. But that does not mean law is discriminating in any gender. So in this particular case, there is no gender discrimination when we use the word spouse. Having said that, there is one more word, if you observed in the beginning, that is son's wife. That is gender specific. Son's wife cannot be any gender because it is only female who can be son's wife. But whose son's wife? That there is no gender specificity. For example, son's wife income can be clubbed in the hands of father-in-law also, mother-in-law also. Both are possible. Which one to be done? That the provision will tell us. So, son's wife definitely is female, no doubt. But in whose hands the income of son's wife has to be clubbed, that could be male or female, then there is no particular reference to the gender of the SSC in that case. Same with other things. This individual we are talking about, the spouse we are talking about. There is no gender specificity. Minor child we say. So minor child could be girl also, boy also. So we don't discriminate or distinguish between the genders here, except in only one point where the law particularly uses the word son's wife, which has to be obviously a female. Other than that, every other case, these provisions are not gender specific. The SSC could be male also, female also. The spouse could be wife also, husband also. Don't be under a preconceived notion. That is a very important aspect, especially while solving the problems. So we don't have to be male chauvinistic here. In some cases, the SSC could be female and the spouse could be male and the income of the male could be clubbed in the hands of the female. There is nothing wrong in that. That is also possible. So we don't have to worry about the gender of the SSCs. Whatever the gender of the SSC is, the spouse of the SSC's income could be clubbed in the hands of SSC if the clubbing provisions are applicable. Again and again we have to keep this in mind. Clubbing provisions are not always applicable. If they are applicable, they are applicable. Of course, when they are applicable, we apply them. If they are not applicable, then there is no problem. There is no need to even think about clubbing provisions. That is the reality of them. On the contrary, as far as our examinations are concerned, this is a very popular question. We can expect a 4 or 5 marks question from this, almost guaranteed in every exam. Very less number of provisions, but more number of marks can very well be obtained either in the form of MCQs or in the form of a small problem. These questions can be asked. So these are the things to be noted before we enter into the provisions related to clubbing actually. Now, let us discuss the first section in this chapter, that is section 60. And this is applicable for everybody. We are not talking about any relationship here. We are not talking about any particular type of SSC here. So the word used here is any person. So when you say any person, is it compulsory to be an individual? Not necessary. So basically here the transfer of income is happening without the transfer of asset. That is what the SSC is trying to do. And who is that SSC? That SSC could be any person. And any person transfers the income from any asset. What the SSC is trying to do? He is transferring the income from any asset. But what he is not doing, he is not transferring the asset itself. So simply speaking, he is transferring the income, but he is not transferring the asset. That means what? Basically, he wants to divert his income towards somebody else. So, irrespective of whatever the intention of the SSC is, if he does this, if the SSC, who could be any person, transfers the income from any asset without transferring the asset itself, if that happens, then simply clubbing provisions will apply. What is clubbing provision? Such income is to be included in the total income of the transferor. And transferor is our SSC. And what the transferor is doing? He is transferring the income only. But what he is not transferring? Asset. If that is the case, though the income in reality is received by transferee, still it will be taxable in the hands of transferor since clubbing provisions are applicable. That is a point here to be noted. Section 60. Then another point here, just as an additional point, basic provision is this. This is the one. Simply speaking, transfer of income without transfer of asset. The heading itself will tell us what is the provision. If there is a transfer of income without the transfer of asset, clubbing provisions will apply. So the logic, wherever we say clubbing provisions will apply, clubbing provisions will apply, simply we have to keep this in mind. Clubbing provisions will apply means what? The income is really received or earned by somebody else. Still, that income is includable in the hands of the SSC. That is where we say clubbing provisions are applicable. In this case, who is the SSC? The SSC is the transferor. And what he transferred? He transferred income. That's what he did. But what he did not transfer? He did not transfer the asset. So, this is deemed by the Act as if it is a malintended transfer. What is the nature? What is the intention? Nobody can enter into the brains of the SSCs and check whether it is malintended or not. That is none of our business. When the law says it has to be clubbed, simply it has to be clubbed. When there is a transfer of income without the transfer of asset. That is section 60. Additional points, it doesn't matter whether the transfer is a revocable transfer or an irrevocable transfer. What is revocable? Revocable means reversible. Irrevocable means irreversible. So it doesn't matter. In this case, when section 60 is there, it is immaterial whether the transfer is revocable or irrevocable. Not only that, it is also immaterial whether it was made before the commencement of this act or after the commencement of this act. Anyway, we are not going to bother that. This act commenced in 1962. We are not going to that much flashback. So don't worry about the second point much. Simply speaking, here the important words to identify are revocable, irrevocable. So irrespective of whether such transfer is revocable or irrevocable, the clubbing provisions will still apply. Means what? Whether it is a revocable transfer or irrevocable transfer of income without transfer of the asset, clubbing provisions will apply. Who is earning the income here? the transferee, somebody else. And who should be that somebody? Should he be related to SSE? Is there any rule like that? Anything mentioned in the provision? Nothing. Could be somebody, anybody. And who is the SSE? SSE also need not be any particular person, any person. So SSE is any person, open-ended. Transferee is anybody else. There is no need that the transferee should have any relation with the SSE. So it is a generic transfer, but transfer of not asset, transfer of income, without a transfer of asset. Then such income is clubbed in the hands of transferor. Dot. That's what is section 60 telling us. Look at the example for understanding. Let us say Mr. A confers the right to receive the rent in respect of his house property to his wife. Of course, here in this case, wife is a related party. It doesn't matter. Even let us say in the place of wife, if we say he does this to his brother also, to his uncle also, the example will still hold good. But in this example, what he has done is, he has given the right, conferred the right of receiving the rent in respect of some house property to his wife. Did he transfer the house property? Answer is no. House property is in whose name? It is in the name of Mr. A. But what he has done? He has transferred the rent to his wife. Again, some people might be thinking transferring the rent means he is doing bank transfer. Not in that sense. Not in that sense. He is giving right to his wife legally. In what? In receiving the rent in respect of a house property, which still belongs to Mr. A only. So if you remember some of the provisions of income from house property earlier, there also a similar provision was there where there is a concept of deemed owner. Deemed owner, who is that? Deemed owner is that person who transferred the house property without adequate consideration to spouse. In that case, the transferor is considered as deemed owner even though legally it is in the name of the transferee, in this example spouse. Remember that? Recollect that one, which was there already in income from house property. Are we talking about that? No, we are not talking about that. Why? Recollect that properly. What was the provision in income from house property? There the transferor is transferring what? He is transferring house property. Here what is he transferring? The transferor is not transferring house property. He is transferring income from such house property. Property is still with the transferor. Mr. A only owns the property. But what he is doing? He is just conferring the right to receive the rent in respect of his house property to his wife, without transferring the house itself to her. So, house is not transferred, but income from that house is transferred. Then, again, practically who is receiving the rent? Mrs. A is receiving the rent, practically speaking. So, under normal circumstances, who should be the SSE for this income? Mrs. A. But are we talking about normal circumstances? No. These are clubbing provisions. Means, when section 60 is applicable, the income is not taxable in the hands of Mrs. A, who is the real recipient of the rent, but it will be clubbed with the income of Mr. A. So, who will be liable to pay tax on such rent? Not Mrs. A, but Mr. A. That is the clubbing provision in relation to transfer of income without the transfer of asset. But let me once again reiterate the fact, who should be the transferor? Transferor could be any person. What is he transferring? Income. What is he not transferring? Asset. To whom he is transferring to? Anybody. Not necessarily wife, not necessarily anybody like spouse or child. No relation is mentioned in the provision. This is an example this Mr. A has transferred to his wife. So don't take example as provision. Always you have to keep this thumb rule in learning taxation. Provision is provision. Provision has to be applied in example. Example should not be used in order to remember the provision or in order to directly take the provision into our memory. No, that is a wrong approach. That is the example of section 60. Now there is one illustration also which is given here, where Mr. Watson, somebody, has transferred through a duly registered document the income arising from a godown to his son. Again, here also related party, but don't worry, irrespective of that, it will be still clubbed. So his son, without transferring the godown, in whose hands the rental income from the godown will be charged. Section 60 applicable or not? Definitely yes. Why? The SSE is Mr. Watson. What he transferred? He transferred income arising from the godown. He transferred income from the godown to his son. Observe very clearly, he did not transfer the godown. Without transferring the godown, he transferred the income arising from the godown. So naturally, the income, though it is really received by his son, it will not be taxable in the hands of the son, rather it will be taxable in the hands of transferor, in this case Mr. Watson. That is the solution. Section 60 expressly states that where there is a transfer of income from an asset without transfer of the asset itself, such income shall be included in the total income of the transferor. That is a provision you have to write clearly. Hence, conclusion. The rental income derived from the godown shall be clubbed in the hands of Mr. Watson. So, that is the solution to this particular illustration. So, section 60, what it was talking about? It is talking about transfer of income without transfer of assets. That is section 60. And with this, we will conclude this session. In the next session, we will continue the discussion in relation to section 61 and then 62, 63 and 64 also. So all these provisions in relation to clubbing we will discuss in the coming sessions, and also we will solve some of the illustrations given in the ICA material, and also some other questions can be also solved once we are thorough with the provisions. But as always, taxation is a provision based subject. First we should be thorough with the provisions, we should be thorough with what the law is telling us, then how to interpret the provision, how to apply the provision will depend upon the circumstances that will be presented to us. Right? With that, we will conclude this session. See you next time. Till then, bye bye.